Waleed bin Talal is a member of the royal family of Saudi Arabia. The family has over 15,000 members whose combined net worth is over 1.4 trillion more than the GDP of Spain or the Netherlands. Waleed bin Talal's personal net worth, according to Forbes, is $18.7 billion. His company Kingdom Holding has stakes in Uber, Careem, Lyft, Twitter, China's second-largest e-commerce store Jingdong Inc., Europe's largest hotel company Accor Hotels, which owns Banyan Tree Holdings, Fairmont Hotels and Resorts, Raffles Hotels and Resorts, Sofitel, Movenpick, Pullman, Swiss Hotel, Ibis Styles, and many more hotels. Apart from Accor, he separately owns stake in Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts chain and owns London-based luxury hotel Savoy Hotel. He also owns many companies in Saudi Arabia and Dubai which are not widely known in the international world. It is believed the majority of Waleed bin Talal's wealth is undocumented, as in 2004 he was the fourth richest person in the world with a net worth of $21 billion. His jet only cost $600 million, which is the most expensive private jet ever made. The plane is one of the heaviest planes, weighing 1.3 million pounds. It comes with amenities like gold-plated Turkish bath, car garage where the prince can park his diamond-encrusted Rolls-Royce, and a prayer room where the mats automatically rotate to face Mecca. It's a true example of a flying palace. Talking about palace, he owns a place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, which has more than 400 rooms. The luxury palace was estimated to be $130 million in 1997. The current value of the palace is unknown. The yacht owned by Waleed bin Talal is infamous. It was previously owned by Donald Trump, Sultan of Brunei, and famous Saudi billionaire Adnan Khashoggi. It is the same yacht which appeared in James Bond movie Never Say Never Again, where the yacht appeared as a villain's headquarters called Flying Saucer. Want to know how Waleed bin Talal became one of the richest Arabs? Watch the full video. We at Business Chronicles tell the stories of extraordinarily successful people. Please subscribe to our channel to help us in making more videos. Waleed bin Talal Al Saud was born in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia on March 7, 1955. To Prince Talal bin Abdulaziz and Mona El Sol. His father served as Saudi Arabia's finance minister in the early 1960s, until he was sent into exile for championing political reform. When Waleed was 7, his parents divorced and he moved to Lebanon to live with his mom. He started his education at Pinewood College in Beirut, but soon his father enrolled him in the King Abdulaziz Military Academy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. There, he learned how to live by stringent discipline and standards which he still adheres to today. In 1974, he moved back to Lebanon and enrolled in the Shuaifat School before transferring to the Manor School. Waleed got his bachelor's degree in business administration from Menlo College in California in 1979. He also earned his master's degree with honors in social science from the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs at Syracuse University in 1985. After graduating from Menlo College in 1979, Waleed went into business. The oil boom of 1974 to 1985 had brought him back to Saudi Arabia. In 1980, Waleed started Kingdom Establishment, now known as Kingdom Holding Company. The company was started out of his modest four-room cottage in Riyadh with $30,000 in seed money from his father. A few months later, when he ran out of funds, he got a $300,000 loan from the Saudi American Bank affiliated with Citibank. In 1982, he got his first big break when he teamed up with a South Korean construction company. From then on, he used his commissions to stump up his investments in real estate. Following the end of the Saudi oil boom, Waleed purchased the United Saudi Commercial Bank, which had been having poor financial performance. It grew into a major player in the Middle Eastern banking industry after merging with Saudi Cairo Bank to form United Saudi Bank with the Saudi American Bank. Waleed has proven to be a visionary who is not afraid to make the first move. His acquisition of United Saudi Commercial Bank in 1986, the merger with Saudi Cairo Bank in 1997, and the merger of United Saudi Bank with Saudi American Bank in 1999 were the first of their kind in the history of Saudi Arabia. After that, he obtained a majority stake in Al Azizia Panda, merged the company with the Savola Group, and eventually seized control of the National Industrialization Company. In 1989, Al-Waleed placed investments totaling around $250 million in Chase Manhattan, Citigroup, Manufacturers Hanover, and Chemical Bank. After 7 months, he divested himself of his other bank holdings to focus on Citicorp. Al-Waleed made his imprint on the global stage when he secured about 5% of Citicorp shares in 1990. The company was almost insolvent at the time, but within a few years, it turned around, making billions for Al-Waleed. Throughout the years that followed, he amassed minority stakes in a wide variety of international corporations, including some of the most influential American companies. By 2003, he owned stocks from Amazon, eBay, AOL Time Warner, Ford, Hewlett-Packard, Motorola, Pepsi, and the Walt Disney Company. Al-Waleed practices a multifaceted form of investment, and while he may have started with real estate, he'd ventured into many other fields over the years. For $100 million in 1993, Al-Waleed acquired a 10% share in Saks Fifth Avenue. The company then launched a flagship store in Riyadh. Al-Waleed acquired a 50% controlling stake in Fairmont's and a 22% stake in Four Seasons, both in 1994. In the same year, he invested $345 million to acquire a 24% stake in Euro Disney. In 1995, he bought a share of the Plaza Hotel worth 42%. Then in 1996, he paid $185 million for the George V and invested another $120 million in renovations before its December 1999 reopening. After rebranding as Kingdom Holding Company in 1995, Al-Waleed announced plans to build Kingdom Center, Kingdom Hospital, Kingdom School, and Kingdom City. In October 1995, Al-Waleed teamed up with other investors to buy Canary Wharf for $1.2 billion. His 6% share of the company cost him $66 million. Al-Waleed became Apple Inc.'s largest shareholder after he bought a 5% stake in the company in March 1997. However, in 2005, he sold all of his stake in Apple. In November 1997, he spent $287 million on a 1% stake in Motorola and $146 million on 5% of Netscape, just before the latter was acquired by AOL and merged with Time Warner. He then invested another $540 million into AOL Time Warner in 2001 and 2002. After investing in the Arab radio and television network in the early 1990s and gaining a 30% stake, he bought a 2.3% stake in Mediaset in 1995. Additionally, he invested in MCI, Fox Broadcasting, and several other technological and media companies. In 1997, Time reported that Al-Waleed was the third largest stakeholder in News Corporation, having acquired a 5% stake for $400 million. In April 1999, Al-Waleed bought more preferred shares worth $200 million. By 2010, he owned about 7% of News Corporation worth $3 billion. In April 1997, Al-Waleed committed $57 million to acquire a 4% stake in Planet Hollywood. About a year later, in November 1998, he paid $45 million to increase his ownership by 16%. In December 2011, Al-Waleed invested $300 million in Twitter's secondary shares. The transaction resulted in Kingdom Holding acquiring more than 3% of the company, which had a market capitalization of $8 billion as of the late summer of 2011. In Asia, he invested $100 million to boost his 5.9% stake in Daewoo to 18%. As well as 3% of Proton Holdings, 3% of Ongbeng Sheng's Hotel Properties Limited, and $50 million worth of bonds issued by Hyundai Motor Company. He had also spread his tentacles to Africa, where he invested $50 million to acquire 10% of Sonatel, 10% of EcoBank, 13.7% of United Bank for Africa, and 14% of Cal Bank. It is important to note that most of Al-Waleed's investments were successful, but he also had a fair dose of failed or underperforming investments. For instance, despite his stock purchases, Euro Disney, Planet Hollywood, and Motorola all remained in dismal financial shape. In 2002, Al-Waleed offered $500,000 to Phillips Academy in Andover, Massachusetts, to help fund the George Herbert Walker Bush Scholarship. During a TV telethon set up by Saudi King Fahd to help the families of Palestinians affected by Israeli operations in the West Bank city of Jenin, he donated £18.5 million to Palestinian families. Following the devastating 2004 earthquake and tsunami in the Indian Ocean, he committed $17 million to assist the victims. Despite resistance from Saudi Arabia, Al-Waleed offered New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani a $10 million check after the September 11th attacks. The check was, however, rejected for largely political reasons. In 2005, Al-Waleed donated $20 million to Georgetown University, the second largest donation in the university's history, to establish the Prince Waleed bin Talal Center for Muslim-Christian Understanding. In 2008, Al-Waleed donated £16 million to Edinburgh University to build a Center for the Study of Islam in the Contemporary World. Aside from that, he has sponsored the Prince Waleed bin Talal bin Abdulaziz Al Saud Center for American Studies and Research. According to many sources in the Saudi Arabian community, Al-Waleed is a strong supporter of women's rights. He sponsored Hanadi Zakaria al-Hindi to become the first Saudi woman to pilot a commercial airplane, and has repeatedly declared his complete support of Saudi females working in all sectors. Over the span of 35 years, he had donated $3.5 billion through his nonprofit Al-Waleed Philanthropies. In 2005, he disclosed his intention to give up his wealth to charity. Al-Waleed bin Talal is known as the Warren Buffett of the Arab world. He is a member of the royal family, and unlike other royals, he has much better business acumen, and instead of spending funds on luxury, he aggressively invested in emerging stocks. He made big bets on Citigroup and was an early investor in Apple, which allowed him to increase his wealth by multiple folds, making him the richest Arab in the world. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to watch more videos like this.